Alright guys, back at it again today. So I got you a video up there yesterday, and had a little bit of time today to get out here just for a few. And as you'll recall, we got the battery tray kind of reworked here, so it'll hold up, it'll hold the battery. I probably could have done something different here, but I don't know, I'll fix it later if I decide to. And then let's see, I'm going to, now that I know that this fan and shroud and everything fit up there, I gotta pull this core support back out. Might pull this out, I might leave it here for the meantime, but I need to get back going on my wiring so I can get all my wiring taken care of, get everything loomed, and then move on. So pretty important. I got my, I don't know, my ADD is kicking in. I just can't lose focus, lose track. Can't remember what I'm doing. But anyways, I don't know if you guys ever have that problem while you're in the progress of a build. But anyhow, I've got it sometimes. So anyways, I'm going to get back on this sucker and we'll see where today takes me. Alright guys, getting up in here. Got the core support back off. And got the battery sitting up in here. I think that tray might be cocked a little bit forward, but I don't know, the truck's sitting sloped down a little bit, so probably not an indication. But anyways, that's how it sits, and I think it's going to be fine. So I got got my chart out here, and you can get one of these offline, and it's just basically tells you how much amperage you can carry a certain distance on what gauge wire. You know what I mean? So I'm going for 120 amps. You know what I mean? So, and I'm going to 120 amps basically from the battery to my breaker, and from my breaker to my deal over here. And I've been thinking about placement of this, and excuse me, I just got trying to get rid of this cold. I got stuff going on in my throat. But anyways, you know, putting it up here, it looks cool, and I think it would be okay. But when you're out wheeling, and like I said, I'm standing in the engine bay right now, so it's cool. But once, you know, it's got, you know, it's sitting at ride height, and you got wheels on, and you're on the trail, and it's hot with the hood open, you got to be leaning back up in there looking for fuses. So I think a better spot would either be like up on the fender well, or on the fender, or maybe potentially just chilling out here on the fender well. So like I said, since the fender well is going to stay, you know, I could just mount it to the fender well. In addition to that, I'm thinking, you know, maybe I should make a little plate or something. I'm not sure, but I don't really have to. I mean, this could just kind of mount right there, and it don't really look that bad, and then it's just out of the way, you know. There's not a bunch of stuff going on here. I mean, obviously there's going to be some wires, but you know. So anyways, just trying to keep this as close as I can to the battery, and then that way, you know, I don't have to use a big old giant feed wire. So if I want to go, let's say 120 amps, let's go on my 120 there. So I can 10 gauge would take me 2 feet, and then 4 feet would be 8 gauge, obviously. So that's it there. And then, you know, once you get here, then you just got to figure your individual circuits, and then, you know, adjust the wire accordingly coming off here, you know, to feed the stuff. I think I'm actually going to, my wiring for the cab is probably just going to hit this breaker and then bypass this and then just feed on into the inside. So I'll probably just come off of this, and then I'll go right up to my, I'm going to put my distribution block right there and then run it into the cab. So kind of sort of how I did it on the K10 or the K5, but I ran it through, I think I ran it through like a 50 amp breaker, and then I ran it up in there. But really, this 120 amp breaker it'll kick, you know, if something happens to the feed wire for inside the cab. And then, you know, obviously once the wire gets here, the feed wire for the cab, then it's all fused anyways on the inside. So that's really all you gotta do there. So that is all. Anyhow, so I'll get back on this sucker, figure out where I'm gonna mount this stuff. I kind of dig, now with running something like this, the cool thing about putting it like hiding it out a little bit, like, you know, it don't look that bad right there, And the cool thing about that is, you know, if you're in a situation where, like, you know, you can't shut the doors or windows, let's say, you know, I make some half doors or something, you know, you go into a restaurant or whatever, I can just kick it down here and then the truck won't work. You know what I mean? So you'd be looking around like, what the hell is going on? So I kind of like it there. It's kind of hidden, so when the hood's open, I mean, you could see it maybe, but, you know, yeah, anyway, it's kind of like an anti-theft type deal, even though nobody's probably going to want to steal it. But still, at the same time, I kind of dig it that way. And then I could just run my wire right up and right to that. So another cool thing about these relays is, you know, other than the fact that they're cheap, you know, you got this nice weather-tight connection. So with everything I've got now, everything's got nice feed and output wires, so everything will work well. And then if you got, you know, if one of them's bad, I've got a couple of extra relays, and you know, I can replace them or whatnot. I may end up using a couple other ones for my headlights. I don't know how many of these I'm going to actually need for the engine stuff, but we will see. And yeah, so I've got a few extra here, and it'll work out. And I think I got a couple more down here, but we will see. And I'm just going to get wiring, and I'll get it figured out here. As I mounted this sucker up to the fender, put one distribution block there. That's going to be for my hot leads, and mounted fuse some relays here. Now I did get another set, or actually another one of these. It had 3 relays on it, so I have 2 more relays, and I may end up mounting them over here for my lights. I'm not sure right now, so that'll come. But for right now, this is what I got. So I'm going to start wiring some stuff up. Hopefully, start getting these wires loomed up and figure out what the hell's going on around here. Alright guys, back on this sucker. It is Saturday. What a beautiful day here in the desert. Yeah, it's like 70 I think. Anyways, been making some progress the last few nights working on this sucker. So I got my relays, most of them are wired, so you know I got bank 2 here, and then this runs over to bank 1. And then you can see how I have them. I just kind of bunch them all up into like this, the yellow connector, which is like, you know, 10 to 12 gauge, and they all fit pretty nice. And what I do is I kind of just twist them, and then I cut them off. You know, like I make them long, I twist them, and make sure that they're nice and tight, and then I run the heat shrink up them a little bit when I'm done. But I twist them, make sure they're good. I cut them so where they're even, and then I put them in the connector. And so I did it that way, and the K5, K10 didn't have an issue. So lots of wiring. I still need to get the lumen. I might get the lumen sometime, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. But it's coming along. So then, so we got ignition 1, ignition 1, ignition 2, and then this. So the injector is ignition 1, injector is ignition 2, and then this one's O2 MAF, and yeah, the O2's in the MAF. And then this one's going to be for my fuel pump. Back on this sucker here. Got some wiring done. Yeah, I got my fuse panel hung. Yeah, some grounds to the PCM, as well as, you know, the injectors, etc. And both heads are grounded. And just starting to kind of form the wiring here. So we'll get all loomed up. Should look pretty good. I'm going to get in here and do some more, and then get the wires bunched together to where they make sense, and I can get them loomed up. So I'm probably going to have a couple curls up on top here. That's fine. I'm going to build I think I'm going to build a nice little cover for it, kind of cover everything up. So that'll be kind of cool. So I mean, I prefer the wires, you know, not be spliced. So if I have to, if they got to lay there and chill, then that's fine. I'll just zip tie them up and build a cover. So I'd like to build a cover anyways, maybe one that kind of went over here. I don't know, something looks kind of cool. I seen one on a build thread that looked kind of cool, so I'll try my hand at it. And then that's it. So kind of got some pretty good news, I suppose. If all goes right, I may be getting a little bit bigger garage and a little bit more parking, so we'll see how that comes. Me and the wife decided to list our house. We're kind of thinking about buying a bigger one, so we were like, you know, we found one, but I didn't know if it was going to work. So then we listed our house, and then we sold it the next day. We sold it the next day for asking price. And so then the next day we're like, well, I guess, and we didn't even have our financing approvals or any of that yet. So we were like, gulp, we got to do something here. So the cool thing is that I can, the buyers are going to let us lease this back until we get into our new place, which we found this week, and it's going to be awesome. And they accepted our deal, and we've already had it inspected. It looks like that whole thing is going good. So as long as this one goes through and that one goes through, I'll be in good shape. So we, in like a month and a half, we'll talk again, and it's going to be a good thing if I can get over there. So plenty of room for parking and room for my old trucks and trailers and etc. So I'm pretty happy about that. So anyways, that's my update, my little news I got. I'm going to keep going on this wiring, guys. Alright, so I got back up in here, and I didn't have the grounds hooked to O2 1 and 2. So I got one butted here and one there, and then I got it ran up and go over here. So looking good. I've got everything pretty much. I'm getting ready to pull these plugs out and then tape up my harness here and then loom it. So this is kind of how it comes together. It's not bad, but I am going to have to split the loom a little bit, and it's just the way it turned out, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know, it'll look okay. You know, this one, I can put all that together. But it is what it is, and like I said, it's going to hang out up underneath the cover, and you won't be able to see it, and so it won't matter as long as it runs. And then you can see it comes over here. It's gonna just dip below. I'm gonna pull these ports out, but it's just gonna dip. I'm gonna dip right below there. Kind of be up out of the way. Same with this side. I got it all taped up. You can see it's nice and tight. I'm gonna just tie it up, probably, you know, where it normally went somehow. Yeah. So I'd like to put some power to it today. I need to, probably before I loom it all, I'll put some power to it. And, I don't foresee any issues, to be honest with you, but I will do that. I don't know if I showed you. I'm not sure if this used to be a park ranger truck. It may have been sometime in the past. I'm not sure. But anyways, let's get up underneath here. Let's see. I got these. There's like this yellow wire, and I think it was actually plugged in to the feed there. You can see it kind of going over here. Not sure what's happening with it. Fuse box don't look too bad. I just want to make sure there ain't a bunch of stupid stuff hanging off of there. I don't really see anything non-factory other than this deal that was up in there. So let me figure out what these are going to. Something went over here to this deal, but it looks like kind of red wire that's scotch locked onto some scotch locks. Goodness, no, I don't know. What is this for? Is that the radio? I don't know what the hell's going on, but they got scotch locks, and I don't dig scotch locks, so I'm going to get in here and figure this out, and I'll be back. Alright, I think I figured it out. So this yellow stuff is power for the radio. Awesomeness. And then these were speaker for the speaker, so they wanted to make sure that they had plenty of power going to the speakers there. And then I like how they, I don't know if that's the switch, but anyways, they got this red wire coming off of the scotch lock on this yellow feed wire, and then they got this coming off, so there's like two scotch locks on the same little tiny wire there. It's like, I don't know, 18 gauge, I don't know, something like that, maybe 16. And then they got this that came down to their little deal here. So we'll get all that fixed up, but anyways, I got that out of there. I'm gonna cut those scotch locks off and seal up that wire, make sure it ain't touching nothing. And then I'll test the deck some other day, make sure if it works. Maybe I'll use it, I don't know. But yeah, so there's nothing else really hanging off of here. So it looks like they just did a custom stereo install, which I guess it ain't the worst thing ever I've seen. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, whatever. At least they braided it. Look at that. They tried to braid it. Looks nice. So then it looks like I'm missing a speaker over here, and then there's a speaker in the door, I think, over there, or in the side deal. It's kind of alpine. You can see they had it. I don't know. They had it soldered. So anyhow, I think we're looking okay in here. I don't really see any issues. Like I said, I'm just going to cut that out and then try to give some power to this sucker and try to give power to it and get my meter out and just, you know, make sure there's power where power's supposed to be and all that good stuff. So we'll hope it don't burn down. We don't need that. Alright guys, so I got it hooked up here, running down to my deal. And yes, that is 10 gauge, but I'm just such a short distance, it'll be fine. I might switch it up to like 8. I'm not sure right now, but anyways, just for testing. So then this feeds up to there. I have the cab unhooked just because I don't have it grounded. So, but I'm getting power here, and it looks like everything's cool. So this little ground strap I got is kind of cool. So it's grounding out my block right now, and then it's also grounding my my deal here. And so what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to get the fender set up in here, and then I'm going to mount my ground block to it, and then I'm going to run a ground off of here to it, and then run it to, you know, the body and then the frame, you know what I mean? So that way I got good ground and I'm good to go. So that is the plan. Alright guys, it's Sunday morning. I think I've been on this wiring stuff for over a week now, and it's coming together here. So I'm kind of getting everything taped up. Starting to tape everything here. I do need to pull this off. I'll pull the and I pulled all of those little zip ties I had on everything. All those came off, and then that way, you know, just kind of soft tying it together with tape, and just cut little strands like this. And then every so often I do that, and you can see up here, you know, how it's gonna work. This will come together here, so I'll only have like a couple little loops, but that's fine. It'll all be loomed and it should all be good. So that is all. I just want to end it here. Well, I can get this video up for you, but I appreciate you guys. You guys take care, and I'll get you guys another video up soon. Have a great weekend.